An online forum causing pain and heartbreak.
There is no reason why anybody should ever end up on a site like that.
It's blamed for deaths around the world, including in Canada.
We are aware of the sites.
Advocates say Ottawa has to do more quickly to save lives. Thomas Douglas shows us a mother's journey taken after her son died by suicide and a warning. Some of the details may be distressing.
At home and in secret, vulnerable people are logging on to a website and finding ways to die. Often they're even encouraged to do it.
I'd say you shouldn't be all too paranoid about things going wrong.
I understand why you'd feel comforted by having a plan to leave this existence. I wish you the best.
Users call it a pro-choice forum, as in a place to openly discuss suicide. But we've uncovered evidence, including Canadian coroners' reports, linking multiple deaths to that site or others like it. And federal officials have resisted calls to have it banned.
It's just horrifying to us.
What's more, the site appears closely connected to an Ontario criminal case.
Has anyone else come up in this investigation?
More on that in a moment.
For years, families around the world have been warning about the dangers of this website. We've come to New York to meet with one mom who's fighting to get it shut down. When they learn about this site, how do people react?
Like, how is that allowed?
Kelli Wilson lost her son to suicide in April 2020. She found his body, then found a trail leading back to that online forum.
There was different tabs that were opened up on his phone. They were all that site. I went to go look at what was going on that website and couldn't believe it.
My phone.
Don't you think this is like a problem?
Mom, no.
Kelly's son, Junior, had just turned 18 when his life was cut short.
He loved his family very much. And he liked to research things. He was just like the best son ever.
Kelli later moved from Texas to New York to get away from painful reminders of her loss. She leads an online campaign to have the site blocked, exposing her to social media harassment from the forum's users.
It hurts the most whenever they bring my son into it, you know? Like the other day, one of them said that my son was in hell and I'm going to be next to him soon.
What keeps you going?
Knowing that I'm doing something for my son. Knowing that, like, there is no reason why anybody should ever end up on a site like that.
The forum is anonymous and receives some 10 million page views a month. CBC News is choosing not to name the site to avoid promoting it. It's registered in the US and access is restricted in Australia, Germany, and Italy. In the UK, major internet service providers like British Telecom recently blocked access to the suicide forum, prompting more calls in Canada for similar action. The Canadian Mental Health Association and its Ontario CEO, Camille Kenville, accuse Ottawa of being too slow to act.
Individuals who would look for that kind of information are in their most vulnerable state.
Just today, someone posted, I have to make a choice between these methods. If I have to choose one, what would you choose? In another case, in response to another post, someone said, I wish you the best of luck in your plans. When you hear about people posting like this publicly, what goes through your mind?
I think if that isn't compelling enough for the federal government to act, I don't know what could be.
Two separate Quebec coroners' reports we obtained from 2021 and 2022 both recommended the CRTC take steps to restrict access to such sites. Mental health organizations sent a joint letter to the federal government last June urging Ottawa to block what it described as a dedicated suicide promotion website, a move prompted by high-profile criminal charges in Ontario.
We offer our sincerest condolences to the loved ones of those we have lost due to these unimaginable set of circumstances.
A former cook at a Toronto hotel, Kenneth Law is charged with abetting 14 suicides in Ontario. Investigators allege Law sold a potentially lethal substance online to clients around the world. And families suspect many of those clients were sent to him straight from that suicide forum. Noelle Ramirez's father says she laid out her plans online the night she died.
She ran into a person who was more than willing to coach her through this and then in turn sell her the product.
Tom Parfit's body was found next to a package linked to Kenneth Law.
I do know if that suicide forum didn't exist, he'd still be with us today, and I'm sure he'd be recovering.
Law's alleged victims in Ontario include 21-year-old Stephen Mitchell Jr. and 19-year-old Ashton Prosser, who died within 5 days of each other last March. Inspector Simon James with York Regional Police is leading the investigation. He's only once taken questions from the media in August.
Has anyone else come up in this investigation, or is Kenneth Law the only person you are investigating?
Well, we're looking at the investigation from a very broad scope, but I can't get into any specific details at this time because it's still very active.
Back in New York, Kelli Wilson is fighting for change in her country.
If this were shut down tomorrow, what would be the immediate effect, do you think?
I think it would save lives.
In homes around the world, people at risk are seeking out that site. Many need help, and they're finding quite the opposite.
So, Thomas, advocates say Canadian authorities have effectively ignored their calls to have this website blocked. Have they said why?
The CRTC told us they don't have the authority to direct internet service providers to block certain websites, and the telecom companies say they can't do that unilaterally either. The federal government pointed us to existing legislation that already bans counseling or aiding suicide. This is separate from medical assistance in dying, which has its own regulations. I should say Kenneth Law, who we mentioned in that story, he is set to appear back in court tomorrow.
All right, Thomas Degg, thank you.
You're welcome.
If you're in need of support, there is a new 3-digit suicide crisis helpline. You can call or text 988. Help is available 24 hours a day.